no spoilers. We can't tell the people about the scene where Rousseau braids Kate's hair.
Flight 815 crash landed, but where there's weird jungle noises and a polar bear. What the fuck is going on over there? Helen
and Alex
will guide you through. If you've seen Lost 20 times,
or if you're brand new,
welcome to our show. It's
Dharma Fish Biscuits. Hello and welcome to Dharma Fish Biscuits, your new favourite Lost podcast.
We're your hosts, Helen and Alex. We're going episode by episode, spoiler free, bringing you all the hot takes you absolutely never ever asked for.
We are on Instagram at Dharma Fish Biscuits Pod. We're also on TikTok at Dharma Fish Biscuits. And you can email us on dharmafishbiscuitspod@gmail.com.
We also have a Patreon, which you can find at patreon.com/dharmafishbiscuits, which you can join for free to get behind the scenes posts about each episode, jingles, bonus material of other kinds, and of course, the spoilery version of the show.
Yes, we have both seen the full show. So this main podcast feed is completely safe for newcomers. We cut out all spoilers. But on Patreon, you can find our full conversation where we sometimes go on little tangents or talk about things in the context of all 6 seasons.
Instead of going beat by beat, on this podcast, we aim to focus our discussion on the character the episode centers around. First in flashbacks, and then on Island, and then we circle back to everything we missed in terms of other plot lines and miscellaneous stuff going on.
This week, we've got our second Jack episode. Season 1, episode 11, All the Best Cowboys Have Daddy Issues.
Let's talk about the title.
I hate it.
Tell me why you hate it.
I just think, I don't know. I'm not too mad at a silly title in some respects, but I think this one, I think the next one as well, I think are just so stupid. Also, Jack's not a cowboy.
I think the way that it lampshades what is kind of quite a cliche trait of Jack having daddy issues and makes it part of the title and sort of pokes fun at it, I think kind of makes it more of a likable trait of the show. The fact that we're going to see so many characters, especially male characters, having daddy issues. I kind of like it, but it's not the hill I'm going to die on.
Anyway, shall we head to some flashbacks?
Let's do it.
So we start off with Jack in the OR. He's trying to resuscitate a patient, and he is in this OR that for some reason is in the dark. Why have they not turned any lights on in this OR?
I think it's a bit of a trope on TV that operating rooms, which obviously are environments where you have as much light as possible so that surgeons can do their job to the best of their ability. It's more effective on TV to have it be a dark room with just the lights around the patient. But I agree, it's fucking stupid. And it really clangs as a not representing reality thing.
Yeah. What did represent reality, I thought, though, is the fact that the patient's eyes are taped shut. Because they tape people's eyes shut for any surgery they do, I think. And famously on Grey's Anatomy, they never tape people's eyes shut, and everyone is always just lying there
it's
like they're
certainly not anything I've come across in my long medical experience of watching Grey's Anatomy. So
I was going to say, I do acknowledge the fact that despite living with a medical professional, most of my medical knowledge is based in Grey's Anatomy. But I do know that is one thing they do wrong in Grey's Anatomy, is they don't take people's eyes shut.
We appreciate the knowledge. My medical knowledge also comes from Scrubs, which I watched quite obsessively when I was a teenager. And actually I have a little Scrubs reference for this first flashback scene where Christian comes in. Jack is trying to save the life of a woman on the table. He's resorted to CPR to try and resuscitate her. He's essentially just assaulting the body of a dead woman. And we're going to come back to that as well. And Christian comes in and he says, "Call it, Jack, blah, 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 it's over, call it." And that is very similar to a scene in Scrubs where the young intern JD is having to deal for the first time with losing a patient, and his mentor, Dr. Cox, comes in and tells him to call the time of death. Do you ever watch Scrubs? You're looking at me very blankly.
Yes, I apologise. I've never seen Scrubs in my life.
Well, some of our listeners will get that reference, so shout out to you, people. Now I know what it's like when you try and talk to me about Yellow Jackets. I'm just like, cool, what's the next thing we're supposed to talk about?
His dad tells him to call it, and Jack's like, no, you call it. Which I'm like, I think in the context that we actually see happen in the rest of the episode, that response makes a bit more sense. But at the time that we're watching it, it just feels like so petulant and really doesn't reflect well on Jack.
Yeah. Did you notice that while he was doing CPR on this woman to try and resuscitate her, he called her baby? Like, kept saying, come back, baby. Come back, you can do it. Come back, baby. And I was just like, this isn't the scene with his wife. That comes much later. I don't know if you're trying to Google it, but this was in the subtitles. I was
going to say, I am Googling it, and I cannot fact check you. You are correct. That is,
yeah,
I can't believe I missed
fact check me
that.
and find me to be speaking facts.
That is absolutely insane.
Very strange.
And I can't believe that completely went over my head.
It must have been like it must have been like an ad lib in the moment, but it was very odd.
So
don't appreciate
so
that.
stupid. So anyway,
next flashback.
next flashback.
I have a bit of a two-parter for this. Because this is the one where Jack confronts Christian about the fact that he was drinking, the fact that when he got to the OR, his hands were shaking.
Yeah, one of the nurses paged him.
You kind of feel like this might be the first time in Jack's life that he's really tried to stand up to his dad. He has a sort of like a bit of a frightened boy face as he's doing it.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. And also the fact that like he sort of does it in like little stages, like as we'll see throughout the rest of the episode, he does confront him when it's just the two of them, and then when Christian's like written this statement being like, you have to sign this, Jack's like, well, okay. And it's got that real air of like, for the first time he's tried to stand up, and at the first sign of resistance he's backing back down again to let him get away with it.
What I also noticed about the way that Christian is with Jack is that he's extremely good at manipulating him. Like, he knows exactly when to be critical to him and like break him down and make him feel bad, which is what he does in this second flashback. He sort of goes like, yeah, you were right upstairs, and so if you were upstairs, why did they come and get me at lunch? You know, it's really sort of like breaking down Jack's self-confidence and self-belief as a surgeon. And then when we go into the next flashback, when Jack actually genuinely stands up to him and kind of says, like, I'm not going to sign this paper that you've written, even if that means you losing your license. I'm going to, stand on my principles. That's when Christian hits him with the tiny little sliver of validation, just enough positive affirmation to Jack to turn him back around again and bring him onto Christian's side. When he says, like, he says you're the most gifted young surgeon in the city. He refers to Jack having extraordinary skills. He gives him like, it's such a manipulative move. This very carefully calibrated balance of like tearing him down and then building him up. I thought it was very cleverly written, actually.
Yeah, I have to say, Lost does write manipulative characters really well. Something we will see a lot more of going forward. So that's when Jack is with him in his office, and after he makes this like manipulative speech to him, and he promises it'll never happen again, then Jack agrees to sign the statement, saying that she just succumbed to injuries and it was internal bleeding and it was just a natural sad death. That
both surgeons did a heroic efforts to save her life, but couldn't overcome it. And there's this incredible music in the bit where Jack is like considering signing the paper and then signs it. Just incredible stuff from Michael Giacchino, as always.
Yeah, our true hero. Yeah, I'd also say like Christian really goes for like, he's got, although you say he gives Jack just that little bit of manipulation, he's got this like whole array of manipulation that he tries, where like He tells them that they'll strip him of his license. So he's like, think of how bad it'll be for me if you do this. And also think, look how great you are. You're such an amazing surgeon. And also this will never happen again. So it's like, I'm so sorry. And it will be terrible if you do this. And you're amazing. And you're great.
And also the part of it where he's saying like, you're such a gifted surgeon. And I had to sacrifice elements of...
Oh God, yeah.
I had to sacrifice elements of our relationship so that you could be on this path. And, you know, it's all about the greater good. And, you know, I may have damaged our relationship, but I've enabled you to save hundreds or thousands of lives with all the work you'll do. For two people who clearly don't have a close father-son relationship, this is probably the closest that Jack has ever gotten to hearing Christian acknowledge that he hasn't been a good father, or that he hasn't been there for Jack emotionally in the way that he should be. So all of that is playing in.
Yeah.
And then we have Christian being so fucking sleazily charming in front of this board who are there to decide like what to do about this death. And he's all like, oh, we're all pals here and, you know, blah, blah, blah. And when he talks about what happened in the room, he talks about how the damage was, you know, there was just too much damage from the car accident. And then at one point he goes, in my professional opinion, and that's all I have. La, 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 la. I was just like, oh, this guy. Hate him.
Awful stuff. And this when Jack finds out. So Jack's like silent throughout all of this, and then it's only when the guys doing the investigation are like, oh, you knew the patient was pregnant? And Christian's like, yes, of course, but our primary focus had to be the mother. And you can see that like Jack is really shaken by the fact that she was pregnant.
It's an interesting thing, isn't it? It's like, so for Jack, he was happy to go along with this medical manslaughter and pretend that it was fine.
If it's just a woman who dies, that's fine. But if she was carrying a child, we simply must speak up. Yeah,
it's a very suspicious drawing of a moral line there for Jack. It was like, oh, but she was pregnant. And it's like, what about her life? Was that not a value in and of itself?
I think Jack would be pro-life, wouldn't he?
Do you think Jack would be pro-life? Interesting.
Looking at his whole character, I think he'd be like, how could you kill a child?
That does sound like Jack. I was going to say that my take on it was going to be, I think he would be one of these people who calls himself pro-life because he is like, would not choose abortion in, like, if it was up to him, and he wouldn't want anyone to choose abortion. But I think that when it comes to a question of what should or shouldn't be legal, I think he would be in favor of it being legal, because ultimately as a doctor and a man of science, he would probably see that the overall benefit, there's an overall benefit to like not forcing people to be pregnant against their will, which can lead to all sorts of ills.
So not to make this a Grey's Anatomy podcast, I do think Jack would be really similar to Owen Hunt, in that I think he'd be like, I fundamentally agree with the concept of abortion, and I think abortion is fine, and there are circumstances in which abortion is good. But as soon as someone wanted to abort his baby, I think he'd be like, absolutely the fuck not, you're not killing my child.
I think Jack would be more conservative about it. I don't think he would be like, abortion is fine and good. I think he would be more like, he would be more of the like safe, legal and rare persuasion. He would be saying like, we don't think it's good. We're not happy that it's happening, but sometimes it has to happen, kind of thing. But not to my baby.
Never to my baby.
Where else would the characters have lost fall on the question of abortion rights?
I think Jack would be the most anti-abortion on the island.
Charlie is Catholic, famously, so we have to remember that. He would probably be the kind of person who would be like using his faith as like, in place of having to actually have his own opinion on it, he would be able to be like, oh, well, I belong to this religion and that says this, so that's what I believe. But I don't think he'd ever really like questioned it.
No. But also I think that being like part of the rock star life and having relations with his mini groupies, I think if any of them were to say, oh no, I'm pregnant, he'd be like, we're not doing this.
I actually disagree. I think Charlie would be the one who would be like, okay, I'll quit the band. We can be a family. I think if he found out that his brother Liam got someone pregnant and paid for an abortion, he would be like absolutely disgusted with Liam.
That's true, actually. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Glad we sorted that out.
Okay. So yeah, Jack finally comes clean and he says that his father was operating under the influence. His father severed the hepatic artery. It caused the crisis, which, in my professional opinion, caused the crisis, which led to her death.
Yeah, I love how as he says, because he's talking to the guys on the board, and as he says that, in my professional opinion, he turns his gaze back onto Christian and like looks him in the eye, and it's very chef's kiss.
Yeah.
Also, there was at some point in this episode, I didn't notice when, but at some point during all the flashbacks, someone called out to Christian and called him Dr. Shepherd. And then for a moment, I was like, are we in Grace? What's happening?
Anyway. Christian, the lost shepherd brother.
Jack is more in the age range of a shepherd sibling.
That's true.
Or is it that Christian is the father to all the shepherd siblings?
Oh my God. Is Christian Derek's dad?
Yes, we finally found
We've solved the
cross-universe overlap. Fabulous.
Great. I just want to say also, from a storytelling perspective, it's really interesting to me that Jack is the first character at this point that we get 2 flashbacks for. Some characters on the island, we've not had any flashbacks, but they're like,
Absolutely.
Nope, there's more to hear about Jack.
But I mean, Michael's black, so...
Michael's black, Hurley's Latino. We don't need these people.
Can we hit the racism jingle, please?
The show may be frozen in time. It's an early 2000s stasis, but we can still point out its crimes. And that shit was fucking racist.
Yay.
But also this one seems to be basically like a direct prequel, would we say? I don't think we would, to the flashbacks of episode 5, White Rabbit, where like in that episode we're seeing the effects of this episode. So it's sort of interesting they told them in that way of like, first of all, we get Jack's immediate story prior to the crash, but there's quite a lot of unanswered questions there of like, he's gone to Australia, his mum hints that Jack did something that caused his dad to go off the rails, but we don't know what. And then in the second episode we then go a bit further back and find out what he actually did.
Yeah, and it's kind of classic Lost structure of being like, we give you a question, we give you an answer, we give you more questions, but there's also like a missing puzzle piece, isn't there, in between? We could very well have another Jack flashback, a Jack back, if you will.
Flashjack.
A flashjack. Flapjacks. Another one in between where it's like his father kind of like losing his license and going off the rails and da-da-da-da.
Yeah. Anything else to say about these flashbacks?
Nope, let's move on.
Let's move on. So we will go to the island. So yes, we pick up exactly where the last episode ended, which is Hurley coming in, running over to Jack, who's attending to Side's leg, and being like, Ethan wasn't on the plane.
Yeah, and Jack pulls a move here, which has led me to track Jack's behaviour over the course of this episode. And
Great.
Any time he behaves in a way that is completely indefensible and the opposite of how a good leader should behave, I started charting them. So this is number 1. When, as soon as he receives the information that Ethan wasn't on the plane, all he wants to do is just run off in the direction of the action as quickly as possible. He hears that it was on the path to the beach, so he's like, cool, I'm running. I'm doing my full-on Jack run from season 1, episode 1. And the first thought I had about this was like, wow, remember how Jack is constantly giving Kate shit about how she can't stay in one place and she always has to be off doing things. So I was like, the audacity to not be able to even stop for a moment. I mean, he hasn't even finished helping Saeed. Yeah. There is no thinking about like the consequences or the long-term strategy or any of it. He's just off.
Yeah.
And, should we have a jingle here that is something like...
Why does no one punch Jack in the face?
I mean, can we listen to that jingle 8 times? Because that's how many times I've singled out this behaviour.
Yes, we will play that jingle every single time that happens in this episode.
Sorry, Jack lovers.
Yeah, so Locke is running after Jack as well. Also, I thought that like the transition was really funny because what actually, like Jack says, "Where's Charlie?" and Locke says, "Oh, we went after Claire," and they like stare at each other for like 2 seconds, and then we do a hard smash cut to them both running through the jungle with the strings going. And I'm like, how did that actually play out in real life, where they like stare at each other and we're like,
well,
3, 2, 1, let's go, and just start running. Incredible.
Jack has a real thing that he loves to do in this episode, which is to like wander around in the place where other people are trying to do tracking, so that he can just mess up the tracks as much as possible and like confuse them with his fresh footprints and fresh breakage of leaves and things. I was fucking so done with Jack.
Yeah.
But this is Locke's time to shine. He can finally combine his wilderness skills and ability to track people and use it in a way that is like socially beneficial, that people actually appreciate.
Yeah. Locke comes off so well in this episode, I have to say.
Fully agree.
I love him. So yeah, they find Claire's bag, and this is when Locke's like, there are 3 sets of footprints here, so 3 people. There's also drag marks.
Yeah, he basically is like, listen, we can go back to the caves in 10 minutes. We can organise a search party. We can do this properly. And Jack is just like wild-eyed. Which way did they go, Locke? Which way did they go? And Locke is like, fucking hell, they went that way. And Jack is like, run, 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 run. This is count 2.
Why does no one punch Jack in the face?
It's one of the first times we see Locke and Jack like locking horns, which is a repeated motif we'll see many times throughout the show. I like the fact Locke's like, you know what, whatever, they went that way, knock yourself out.
Yeah, he's very much like, knock yourself out, like you go off running, I'll do the actual work. I thought Locke obviously does return to the caves and puts together his search party. I thought he made a nice pair with Kate when she's like, I'm coming with you. And he's like, I figured you might, and just hands her off the knife without even looking. I was like, oh, I like these two together.
This is like Locke. I think Locke all round is great. Like if that was Kate saying to Jack, I want to come, Jack would be like, no, it's too dangerous. But Locke being like, yeah, you probably do want to come. That's fine. Here we go.
Yeah, you're motivated and competent and like, I trust you well enough. So let's do it.
Like the same thing with Boone. And we've talked quite a lot about how Boone wants to help. Boone wants to be useful. And thus far, we've mostly seen him going to Jack being like, you're the leader. You're in charge. I want to be helpful. Please let me help. What can I do? And like at almost every opportunity, Jack's been like, go away, fuck off, go do this useless thing over here, I don't need you, you're not particularly he's just been constantly pushed back by Jack. Whereas like one of the first times Boone's come to Locke and been like, I want to help you, Locke's like, great, yeah, we need some more people, come along.
Yeah, I think Boone, the thing about Boone and Jack is they're almost like a bit too similar. Like Boone is kind of like displaying a lot of the same qualities that Jack has. And I don't know about you, but when I meet someone who reminds me too much of me, I don't like them. And I think it's a rough one for the two of them being paired together. But by putting Boone and Locke together, you have two quite different dispositions. Boone wants to be the helpful, the person who is helping and saving people and whatever, but he also isn't like he isn't trying to compete with Locke in the way that Jack is.
Yeah.
So they kind of have they're a bit more simpatico. I thought Boone was looking fully like a 70s rocker in this episode. His hair has grown out.
He's got a real mullet look going on, which I don't love.
Plus the like cut off t-shirt.
Yeah, the vest.
It was a look. I was surprised. I'll put it that way.
But anyway, so Locke, Boone and Kate go off on their little thing, and we have to do a little bit of a hypothetical off-screen fuck, marry, kill, because we sort of don't see the 3 of them together because they like immediately come upon Jack. However, the only other time there were 3 people in a scene this episode was when Walt was involved, and we shan't be playing fuck, marry, kill when Walt was involved. No, so here we go, the off-screen fuck, marry, kill of Locke, Boone and Kate.
3 characters in a scene. You know what that means. It's time for fuck, marry, or kill. Fuck, marry, or kill.
Marry Kate, fuck Boone, kill Locke, I think.
That was quite a quick decision. I don't know.
I was going on vibes alone. I haven't given it any thought.
I don't like Boone's mullet in this episode, so I don't think I can
You've
fuck
literally
him.
always wanting to fuck Boone, and now
Yeah, not with a mullet.
the tables have turned.
The tables have turned. Also, Locke is really good in this episode, so I think I might want to marry Locke. Because I think he's really nice to everyone, and he's very, like, strategic and good. I don't know if Boone's mullet is bad enough to sentence him to death.
You can still fuck him then. Or you just said you just
do I
said
want to kill
couldn't.
Kate?
You just said you couldn't fuck him with a mullet, so I guess you are killing him.
I guess I can put a hat on him, maybe. Okay, yeah, I'm going to marry Locke, fuck Boone with a hat on, and kill Kate. Okay, so Locke, Boone and Kate, they come across Jack. Locke gives him a sick burn. Good thing you were going in a circle, otherwise we'd have never found you.
It's not the most effective search quadrant or whatever he calls it. Quite funny. And this is the part where Locke goes up and has a bit of one-on-one time with Jack, and he's like, look, you're the only doctor we have on the island. You are so valuable to our group. We need you. Please go back. Let me be the hunter. You be the doctor. Man of doc, man of hunt. And he makes this like very calm and reasoned, and honestly, like, it's an argument that is difficult to disagree with. Everything he says is so on point, and like any reasonable person would be like, you know what? You're right. I'm just letting my emotions take over here. I'm going to go back. But unfortunately, we have to play the "Why No Punch Jack in the Face" jingle for a third time.
Why does no one punch Jack in the face?
But yeah, again, it's Locke being like tactical and strategic, not tactical in like a manipulative way, but being in like, this is our tactic for what we're doing.
Picture,
yeah. And I think there probably is some element to it, and maybe he is slightly manipulating Jack because he's like, you're running around destroying all the trail, you should go back. But being like, you know, you're the doctor, like, let me hunt. You can't argue with him, like you said. It's also interesting that Locke, is there some sort of parallel from Jack's perspective between Locke and his dad? Because as we're saying this, I'm like, oh, I guess there is some of the same, like, almost manipulative tactics going on here, where like Locke says it's my fault, I should have picked up on Ethan, the same way Christian like eventually sort of like, yeah, I made a bit of a mistake, and then he's like, you're so good, you're such a great doctor, people need you to be a doctor, let me do this. Like, I don't know.
Now that you pointed out, there is a bit of a parallel there. The two scenes aren't completely unrelated, and especially the way that Locke is like, I'm going to give you the tiny little piece of validation that I think you need in order to get you to agree with me. There's definitely something to that. What was it that you just pointed out? Oh, yeah, the thing about how Locke says about Ethan, you know, I know a fair bit about hunting and tracking, but whoever Ethan is, he knows more. And I was like, ooh, spooky. I mean, everything about Ethan I find extremely spooky, but this was just one of those small moments.
The only thing I could think about in this scene is that everyone seems to like exclusively sweat around their neck and their chest. And I'm assuming this is just a production thing where they're like, how do we make these people look like they're sweaty? They just like gave everyone like rings of water around their neckline. And I'm like, there's not a lot of armpit sweat. There's not a lot of like belly sweat. It's just all around the neckline. Do we ever even see
crotch sweat? Maybe there's a good reason for...
Do we want to?
Maybe there's a good reason for the sweat to be a bit more designed rather than accurate. Anyway. The next thing I have about Jack is when they're continuing to track, and then Locke is like, I want to take a break. We need to refocus and find some clarity here.
But yeah, Locke wants to take a break, and him and Kate go off.
Yeah, and it's this is really the first proper conflict between Jack and Locke, where Locke is, you know, up until now they haven't agreed on the course of action, but they've kind of both just put up with each other a little bit. But when Locke is like, yes, I know what time it is, and I'm choosing to take a break because it's what we need to do right now, and Jack is just giving him this rage look, and his nostrils are flaring, and I'm just like, this guy is not mentally well. Like,
No.
And he's just he's so aggressive. And I have to hit the jingle one more time. We're on number 4.
Why does no one punch Jack in the face?
Kate is being far more sympathetic to Jack than I would be. And she's like, bro, can we have a little one-on-one over here in this corner of the jungle? And she's just like, what the heck is going on with you? Like, why are you being like this? And I honestly think she has such a great moment in this scene where even though Jack is behaving completely abominably, Kate is able to like be above it and sort of be like, clearly there's like some deeper seated reason for this behavior. Just talk to me about it. Just tell me about it. And it was one of the moments that I really thought about, like, how good of a leader Kate is and how she so infrequently is ever given the opportunity to step into that role.
She was supposed to be the leader and Jack was supposed to die. In that alternate universe, she'd have been great. Justice for Kate.
Yeah. I did also... So this is when Jack tells her that, like, it's his fault because he didn't believe Claire. And I actually did feel a little bit sorry for him. And I'm like, I can... Like, deserved, because yes, you shouldn't have been a dickhead to her. But also I can see why, after being a dickhead and then her being kidnapped because you didn't believe her, you might be like,
yeah,
maybe I did something wrong.
I think we needed to see Jack's guilt to put all his behaviour into context and see that it's coming from a place of him regretting his behaviour, wishing that he had done differently, feeling like a personal responsibility for what has now happened to Claire. So it helps to contextualise how he's been behaving, but it doesn't excuse it, and it's not enough.
Yeah. Well, then they go a bit further, and then Locke finds the plaster from Charlie's finger.
You know, Dominic Monaghan obviously learned from his time on Lord of the Rings how to drop little clues behind you to lead the people who are trying to track you. Of course, it turns out it wasn't him doing it. Bad times, but that was the thought I had originally.
Well, we don't really know, do we? Because, like, they then determine that there are two... We don't know where Locke and Boone end up, but we know that Jack is following... My interpretation of it was that we know that Jack and Kate are following the trail that Ethan deliberately left for them. So, in that case, it's not Charlie who's, like, leaving his... Although they do find Charlie, so... I was going to say, I feel like they presumably are on the trail, because I assume Charlie and Claire are still with Ethan.
I have to assume that Charlie's unconscious, though, because when Jack talks to him later, he says he doesn't remember anything, he didn't see anything, he didn't hear anything. So he certainly wouldn't have had the presence of mind to be, like, taking off his bandages and sticking them on tree branches, which is...
Okay, yeah, that's true. Yes. Okay,
so I'm going to stick to my original assessment, which is Jack and Kate are following the bogus trail that Ethan deliberately left for them, whereas Locke is, at least initially, following the real trail of where they were dragged.
Okay, fair enough.
Later, of course, he's just following his gut, so we'll get to that.
Anyway, so they've discovered that there are, in fact, two trails, because there's the plaster and there's also some footprints, and they've got a second trail.
I have two hit the Jack, why no punch Jack in the face jingle. I have two instances really close to each other, so maybe I just need to merge them. But it's firstly when Jack insists on following the bogus trail left by Charlie's plasters, while Locke is like, well, I found an actual trail, so I'm going to stick to this one. And then, of course, Kate makes the very good point that maybe these bandages are being left deliberately to mislead them, at which point I have to hit the jingle again.
Why does no one punch Jack in the face?
Because Jack is like, well, we got two trails, and apparently we got two trackers. Like, guys, can we talk, like... Kate had the same thought that I did, and I'm not a fucking mastermind of was trailcraft.
This also pissed me off, because like as soon as she says maybe they're leaving a second trail, Boone says, now you're a tracker? Like, no, she's just using some critical thinking skills.
Locke also makes a comment like,
you're just full of surprises. says
I
a lot.
was just so annoyed by the fact that like all the other people in the scene were like, what? How did you have this thought? And it was just like, I mean, isn't it quite an
pretty
obvious thought to have?
Yeah. So Kate and Jack go off following the plasters. I mean, to be fair, arguably the thing that doesn't require any tracking skills because you're just looking for a thing that someone has left on a tree.
But Kate, bless her, is continuing to try and track. However, Jack is constantly running ahead of her, messing up whatever track was left behind, and then getting annoyed at her for not tracking quickly enough. I simply despise him.
Yeah, I think this is when it really kicks into gear. Like after he's said to Kate that he's feeling guilty and that it's his fault that Claire got taken, this is when I think we really get him fully going into like, I must save people. It must not be my fault. I must be sort of the same as Boone. Like, I must be useful. But of course, we know that Jack is obsessed with saving people all the time. And he's just like, I don't need to listen to anything. I don't need to listen to anyone. I'm just running ahead to save Claire.
And at the same time, he's spending time with Kate, who he has this like weirdly possessive, like controlling vibe about. So as soon as they're off on their own tracking, he's like, so where'd you pick up the tracking skills, Kate? Oh, was it before or after you were on the run? Why don't you just tell me anything real about yourself? It's like, simply shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Dick.
Like him being like, just give me a little honesty. Something real. Like, what are you talking about? She doesn't
She's trying to do something good for the group and you're actively hindering her. Can we start there? Oh my God.
Also, like, she tried, lest we forget, at the end of her flashback episode, she tried to talk to him and like tell him, and he was like, no, I don't want to know.
3 days ago, all of us died, famously.
Yeah. She tried to tell you, you said no. Let it go. Leave it be.
He simply can't.
Yeah.
That was number 7, by the way, out of my jingle moments.
Why does no one punch Jack in the face?
Well, it starts raining. Jack hears some ambiguous noise, which like could be Claire, could be the monster, could just be some wind.
It definitely sounded like screaming. I'm with him on that. It sounded like a woman screaming.
But yeah, he starts bounding up another one of the island's many vertical inclines. He's like pulling himself up by these vines. Awful stuff. And then, what happens if you try to like pull yourself up some mud in the pissing rain? Oh, you just slide down.
There was a brilliant moment here where he like slipped from this very slippery cliff and falls quite a long way, lands on the ground, hitting his head. And I just turned to my partner. I was like, and that's how Jack dies. And we never have to see him again. Like, just imagine the alternate universe that opens up where Kate can be our leader as was truly intended. That's not what happens. Ethan's terrifying silhouette is standing above him and we have to deal with that. Fucking horror movie ass shit.
Ethan is a lot more terrifying now. Like, I feel like he's a little bit of a dweeb in the last couple of episodes. And now suddenly when he's just a silhouette saying, if you do not stop following me, I will kill one of them.
Yeah, I feel like whatever their casting criteria were for Ethan, they did forget to ask, can you sound menacing and do like a convincing menacing voice? Because he really sounds like he's putting it on when he's like, do not follow me. If you follow me, I will kill them. And it's like, my guy, it's not helping.
But anyway, they start fighting.
Honestly, like Jack is trying to punch Ethan, but he is mostly failing because he's like probably still concussed and he's like slipping around in the mud. And Ethan's on his home turf and he's extremely strong. We can't help but notice. Yeah. So he is absolutely beating the shit out of Jack.
Someone finally punched Jack in the face.
I'm not saying I'm on Team Ethan, but it had to happen.
We're halfway through the podcast. We talk a lot, we know. Why not take this time to write a review? It helps more people find the show. Or pop us a little email. Or simply tell a friend. We're gonna need some listeners if we're to make it from the pilot to the end.
Okay, so then eventually Jack gets knocked out. Good. And Kate finds him
He deserved it.
Kate finds him unconscious. And unfortunately, oh no, the rain has washed away the trail that they weren't really following, because they were just following the plasters. Many question marks.
Kate was trying to, but now she can't.
And then something very interesting. He says, I'm not letting him do this, not again. And I was like, what is that meant to be? Is this about... Because then it like cuts to the flashback. And I'm like, is this to do with his dad? But I don't understand what parallel they're trying to draw there, other than like Jack feels somewhat responsible for someone's death. Or does he literally just mean I'm not letting him take them away?
Is it that we know that Ethan has already attacked Claire, or like tried to attack her when she was sleeping, and therefore Jack is simply referring to Ethan and saying, I'm not going to let Ethan, do this again. Ethan has also said, if you don't stop following me, I'll kill one of them, which most people might take as a reason to stop following them. But Jack seems to be more like, all the more reason to follow him so I can prevent him from killing people. If we're going to make it about Christian, then it's like, why is he thinking about it at this moment on the island? And if we were supposed to be thinking that, then it would have been nice to have had like the ghost of Christian, or the appearance of Christian.
Yeah, that we have already have. I just always, and maybe I'm like giving the writers too much credit, but I always assume that somewhat the flashbacks are tied into what the character is like going through on the island at that time.
Well, they usually are, in a very obvious way.
I was like, this feels like it should mean something, but I simply cannot pass what it means. Anyway, never mind.
This was my 8th and final playing of the Punch Jack jingle.
Oh.
When Jack insists on like that they're still going to have to that they're still going to follow Ethan, even though Kate is like, there's no trail to follow. And also, Jack, remember how he literally just told you if you keep following him, he will kill one of them.
Why does no one punch Jack in the face?
Jack does continue to run, and what do they find? Charlie strung up in a tree by his neck in, I would say, quite a graphic fashion.
It is horrific. I had genuinely forgotten that this happens. Obviously, Charlie survives. So when I saw this, I was like, whoa, wait a sec.
Yeah.
Because I had to stop and think for a minute, but it's like, but he survives. So he's alive later, so how can this be? It is really, really, really grim. And I reacted to it as I would to seeing him dead, even though I knew he was gonna make it.
I hate it. And I think it's one of the stupidest things maybe on the entire show. Like, he's been up there for God, we don't know how long he's been up there. We don't know, like, however long. Jack checked his pulse. I'm guessing he didn't have a pulse. He's obviously not breathing. Like, and Jack does incredibly poor CPR on him. Like, he just blows into his mouth like once or twice and then does these like stupid little soft pumps that are like not going to do anything, let alone start someone's heart. And then he just starts like whacking him full force in the chest. I'm like, I don't think that's helping either, my friend.
It's horrible to watch, and especially if you're watching it thinking that Charlie is dead, which is kind of how I felt, even though I knew he was going to survive. It is really like he is just beating this corpse. And the punching method, I did look a little bit online. There seems to be like some people who say that this is a portrayal of a genuine method.
We do have a little bit of Connor's corner about this.
Just the visual of him like beating this body over and over again when you think that Charlie has died, it is really grim. And I'm fully Kate in that scene. Like, I don't want to watch it. I can't deal with it.
I mean, this is the thing. Kate's reaction is like so visceral. Also, the music is like really swelling, and I think is it the death theme? Like Life and Death, I think is what.
Life and Death plays before he comes back to life, and I was just like, this is like fucking showing us the white screen on 6 Feet Under. You're literally telling us like, without
you're
telling
us that this character is dead, and then he just magically comes back to life, and I just think they went too far in, like, they made Charlie too dead for it to be like remotely believable that he would come back to life. Like, even if you just had him, like, I don't know.
Too dead. I think my basically the thing that I wanted to say about this as a whole is just island CPR is a hell of a drug. It's CPR on the island can do things that no other CPR in the real world can.
I mean, yeah, this is where we get into a whole thing that people love to be like, oh, it's because it's what the island wanted. And I'm like, sure, whatever. I hate it. It's just poor writing. Like,
I think it's a bit of both, though.
There is no way Charlie could have been revived. At least in the way, from the state he was in, and the way that Jack was trying to revive him.
But is there any way that Locke could land in a plane crash as a wheelchair user, paralysed, and then walk immediately?
I don't acknowledge this.
Sometimes you got to do a bit of island CPR. No, I agree with you. I found it frustrating because I agree that Charlie was indeed too dead to be revived in this way. He was so extremely dead.
And it is so frustrating. I think because Kate's reaction and the music are so effective, like, I wish that our believing that he was dead was due to this reaction and the music causing an emotional response in us, as opposed to us seeing a person that would be scientifically beyond revival.
Yeah, that's fair. They could have had him maybe like not hanging from a tree by his neck, but found in like some slightly less fatal looking position.
Yeah. Even if it was exactly the same, but he was just on the ground, a little bit more ambiguously, maybe he can be revived. Then I think having Kate like screaming and crying and that gorgeous music would still have us be like, oh my god, they're doing a death scene.
Yep.
But hey. Anyway, never mind. They get back to the caves. Charlie hasn't spoken. And Jack tells him that they'll go straight back out in the morning. They'll go find Ethan. And this is when Charlie breaks his silence and he says, like you said, he didn't see anything. He didn't hear anything. He doesn't remember anything. All they wanted was Claire.
Right, time to circle back to other strands.
Go back to Locke and Boone after they leave, when they go off on their little path. The first conversation they have is Boone discussing the concept of red shirts with Locke.
Okay, there's two things I want to say about this. First of all, when Ian Somerhalder says the line, he doesn't say red shirts, he says red shirts. It's like he is clearly not familiar with the concept of red shirts, and no one on the crew thought to like tell him, this is a thing. But also I found it very funny how when he's describing to Locke the concept of a red shirt, he refers to how the captain and the guy with pointy ears will go down. And I was like, my dude, if you're enough of a Trekkie to know about red shirts, then you certainly know Spock's name.
Yeah, I'm also like, between the two of them, I think Locke is much more likely to be a Star Trek fan than Boone.
Absolutely.
So the fact that Locke is just like, no idea what you're talking about.
I can buy Locke's relationships to Star Trek, which is like, probably I've caught an episode here or there, but I'm not like a big fan. I do have trouble buying Boone as a Trekkie. It doesn't, whatever.
I think it's fun that they've like put it in there because like, to sort of address the nature of tropes, because Lost is a show that does play into some tropes, being like, oh, here's a really big media trope, a red shirt, wonder what red shirts we'll find here.
This is also the bit where Boone asks some follow-up questions to Locke about his life off-island, and finds out that Locke works for a box company.
This is when Boone asks Locke what exactly they're following, and Locke tells him, my gut.
Seems fine.
Trust me, dude.
This is the part where we should all start to get a bit worried about Locke's behaviour. When he says he's following his gut rather than any trail, and then later when he continues to follow ... and Boone questions him and he's like, can't you feel it? It's like, Boone is starting to regret signing up to the John Locke cult of personality.
I don't think we should question it right now. Like, I think this is like enough of a sort of gentle easing us into it that like we've seen like Locke's relationship with the island sort of build. We found out that he can walk again and he like saw the monster. He's sort of had this like very zen relationship of like trusting this place that they're in and believing there's something more to it. And I think, this is like the first time he's almost directly letting someone else in about that, but still doing it quite vaguely and ambiguously of just like, I'm following my gut. I know what's over here.
What I find interesting about it, more so than just like Locke's feeling about the island, is Boone's relationship to Locke and like the way in which he is like, oh, I found a new guy to follow. This guy's so much nicer to me than Jack is. Yeah. He believes in me and he's paying me attention and he's giving me validation. I feel like it's this like, we're seeing Boone once again as this like this little boy who just wants someone to like tell him he's a good boy. And Locke is doing it for him and Boone is readily signing up for that particular cult.
But also, like, Locke asks him what he does, which I don't think Jack has ever asked a single question about another person in his life, apart from when he wants Kate to tell him something.
Yeah, that's very true. And also Boone replies, of course, with his classic line, I run a business.
Is this the time for the Boone jingle?
Cheekbones, lifeguard, I run a business. Sunglasses repaired with a paperclip. Desperate for your validation, but is he a boon in the situation?
Locke tells him that he should head back because it's going to start raining in 1 minute. And Boone's like, no, I'll stay. And then guess what? It starts raining.
And this is the point where Boone really is like, you're magic and I love you. I'm going to follow you, whatever you say. Dad?
I don't know if it is, because, like, yeah, he has that, like, air of respect for Locke, but then, like, the next scene they're in is when they're in the dark. He thinks they're lost, and, like you say, Locke says, can't you feel it? And Boone's like, I'm gonna go back. I've had enough. So I think he does have his limits of, like, he respects Locke and he wants to be there, and then he's like, actually, maybe I have followed a crazy man. All I know about him is that he has lots of knives and runs after boar. Maybe I should go back to the gates.
Fair enough. That's a fair point. I think I'm slightly projecting like things that we know are going to happen in the future. But of course, then just as Boone's about to turn back, Locke yeets the torch over to him, but instead of catching it, it drops onto a mysterious piece of metal.
Ooh. Boone's like, is it part of the wreckage of the plane? And I'm like, I don't think that would be buried.
Well, there's fucking plants growing all over it, so probably not.
Yeah, that sort of implies that it might have been here longer than your plane has. Locke somehow knows that it's steel. And Boone says, what is it? That's what we're gonna find out. Boom.
While we're on the subject of Boone and Locke, can I just parcel in this little moment at the end between Kate and Shannon, which is when they're talking about Boone and Locke. It's just a little conversation between them where Shannon is concerned that they haven't come back and like it's dark and whatever, and Kate says, if there's anyone on this island that your brother is safe with, it's Locke.
Yeah. But also, I love this. You know I love Shannon. I love this again because she's doing that thing where she doesn't want to admit that she cares, and she doesn't say that she's worried about Boone. She just comes over to Kate and all she says is, they're not back. Or something like that. And she doesn't need to say that she's worried, and I think she doesn't want to let on that she cares about Boone or cares about, indeed, a single other living person on that island. But she does.
Yeah.
I also like, it's kind of nice that she goes to Kate to talk to about it as well. Like, Kate's the one that she's like, I'm going to check in with her. Fuck Jack.
I'm trying to think, like, does Shannon have friends? And we know she spoke to Claire before, but Claire's been taken. Like, Is Kate the closest thing that Shannon has to a friend? Because that makes me sad.
I think so.
Well, hopefully this is the start of a beautiful friendship between Kate and Shannon.
God, I hope so. I'd love to see some female friendship on this show.
Wow. We're going to be waiting a long time for that, aren't we?
Yeah. Hit the jingle.
Never forget, lost is a feminist text. Just kidding, this show hates women.
Yeah, I think famously, the women all hate each other.
I mean, Kate and Claire also had a nice little connection and got along well before she got taken, but...
That's true, but then Claire
was really carrying the burden for all of these friendships. She was doing all the emotional labour.
I think they're just like, Kate, you're the closest thing to a main female character. We should all talk to you.
Who would be the female friendship BFF relationship that you would love to see on the show that never happens?
I think Claire is so lovely. She would talk to Shannon. And I think, like, I can see a world in which Shannon cares about astrology. She'd initially be like, really like, oh, you think that's cool? But I think she'd get into it. And I think they'd have a nice little time.
I also want to counter with a suggestion for female BFF friendship between Rousseau and Kate, because I feel like Rousseau could take Kate under her wing, teach her ways, make her like Rousseau version 2.0.
But I think also Kate could maybe teach Rousseau how to like be a little bit less of a mentally unsound recluse.
Yeah,
like a give and take friendship.
Yeah, I love that for them. Okay,
I love that for them. Some other miscellaneous plots, miscellaneous threads.
Can we talk about Michael? Because this is the one I've been wanting to get back to.
Yes, that's exactly where I was going. Yeah, so Michael has some fun little moments in this episode. First of all, when Locke is getting his little party together and Kate is there and Boone says he's coming and Michael says he can help and Locke says no. No,
the
thanks.
search party is full.
But again, like we were talking about, Locke's just being like strategic and like actually thinking really rationally about what to do. And he doesn't just say, no, I don't want you to come. He's like, our party's full, we're fine. And when Michael is sort of like, well, fine, maybe I'll do my own thing. Locke's like, yeah, great. That would be really helpful. You should do that.
There is something deeper happening there, that Michael wants to be one of the people. He wants to be in the A-team. He wants to be one of the people making a difference. And also, he makes a big deal about when he later talks to Walt about it, or I think he's talking to Walt. And he's saying, you know, like, me and these other guys, we're putting our necks on the line for Charlie and Claire. And it's like, it just seems like you want to be able to say that you're putting your necks on the line rather than like that you actually care about saving Claire.
Yeah, I think there's a lot going on that's like all tied in together, which a key factor I think is this like resentment that Michael has of Locke, largely based on Locke's
relationship with Walt.
Yeah, because like you're saying, so that conversation that Michael's having when he's annoyed that Locke didn't let him come along, like you say, he says we're putting our necks on the line. He talks about treating him like a second-class citizen, which I was like, oh, interesting to think from a racial perspective.
I think there is also a racial element to it that I think we would be foolish to overlook. The fact that, like, oh, don't worry, we've already filled our quota for the search party. All of the white main characters are already accounted for.
Yeah.
And so I wonder if it's like a bit of meta commentary there. I agree, the line second-class citizen feels very loaded in that context.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, like, and I definitely agree there's, like, a meta commentary here, because it's the same as, similar to, like, what Hurley was saying when he started the census in the other episode, when Hurley's like, I'm talking to Scott and Steve, and I'm like, who are Scott and Steve? And it's that same thing of the show being like, by the way, there are 48 people here. We're looking at 10 of them, but there are these other people. And I think it's, like, a real thing of Michael being like, why are these guys the main characters? And the other people, I mean, Michael, at least you've got a name and some lines in this show, but it's still like there are other people who have no clue what's going on the island and just simply aren't involved at all. Okay, anyway, yeah, like this scene culminates with Walt being like, if it were me, I would listen to Locke. And Michael's like, well, I don't want you listening to him.
Yeah. Well, we might as well segue directly into Walt, who later talks to Sawyer. So later on, Walt goes to sort of deliver the news to Sawyer. It's kind of a little bit of a contrived scene where it's like, is it actually the case that Walt has gone out of his way, walked over a mile to go and see Sawyer and catch him up on the, like,
I didn't get the fact. I didn't think he had gone to find Sawyer. I thought it was just like he was walking around.
It's very random how he shows up. We don't need to dwell on it, but yes, it is a funny little scene where and also the way that Walt catches him up on everything that's been happening. This bothered me. Okay, they have this dialogue between Sawyer and Walt, and it's about Ethan and how he wasn't on the manifest, and all the rest of it. And Sawyer says, or maybe he changed his name. Walt goes, it's stupid to lie about your name. It's a fucking quite significant plot hole that we know at this point that Sawyer is not Sawyer's real legal name. Yeah. We know it's the name that he's adopted of the man who killed his father. Yeah. Or caused his parents' deaths, I should say. And no one, and yet this hasn't been addressed in the show. The fact that Hurley went round talking to everyone, unless the answer is that Hurley knows Sawyer's real name and they just omitted that scene.
Maybe Sawyer did tell Hurley, because Hurley was being like, oh, I need your name. And if Hurley's like, hey, what's your real name? Sawyer would be like, oh, Sawyer won't be on there as this. But then it's like, it does bring up questions of like the chronology of like, has Hurley been to see people who aren't on there and be like, your name isn't on here. Have you got a different name you're using? And why didn't he do that? Whereas it seems like he immediately came to be shocked about Ethan not being on there.
Yeah, it struck me as being like, as the fact that they chose to highlight it in that dialogue seemed to me like, it seemed like they just did it for a comic moment, and actually it raises like a bigger question about the show, and in that case you probably shouldn't do it. Like, anyway.
Do you want to do Walt and Hurley, or do you want to do Sawyer and Saeed?
Let's do Sawyer and Saeed because it comes next chronologically.
Okay, Sawyer and Saeed. Sawyer wakes Saeed up and says that you Islams believe in karma.
The full line is, I don't know if you Islam's got a concept of karma. And then he goes on to say, but it seems like you've been served up a portion of universe justice or whatever the line is. It was one of the things that it actually made me laugh out loud, because it's like, you're blending in like two different flavors of racism and like ignorance, and like you almost like can't be offended by it because it's so stupid, and it's just like Sawyering out the best way he knows.
Yeah, I agree.
I really loved this scene between the two of them. I have so many like nice things to say about it.
Yeah, I thought this was really nice. I really enjoy Sawyer as a character in the midst of weird shit happening on Lost, because I think he's a real good
foil.
I don't know what the word is. Yeah, he's sort of acting as a foil, but he also sort of works as this indicator of like, this is not normal. And I love like tracking his responses to that, because like everyone else in the show they seem like they might belong in a slightly mysterious drama. Sawyer feels like he just belongs in a real straightforward, he's cool, he's aloof, he does cons, he's like really smart and sleek and above everything. And then when you're suddenly like, there's a French woman who's living on this island and she's kidnapped me, he's suddenly like, what?
Weird.
What? And Saeed's like, maybe I believe her. I heard something in the jungle. And like his face, it just like completely, it's just like against everything he knows and believes in his life, in a way that I don't think many other characters most of the other characters in the show are pretty much like accepting of all the weird shit that happens.
That's true.
And he's like, what? This isn't my trajectory. This isn't the
true,
plot
actually.
I'm meant to be in.
A lot of other people in the show are very willing to just believe whatever people say to them. But no, it's true. And this was one of the things I wanted to say, is that scene when Saeed says about Rousseau, initially it's like, oh, I heard these other people, or there's these other people on the island. And so it's like, right, her people. And so it's like, no, actually, she thought they were all sick, so she murdered them all. And there's this beautiful piece of acting where it's like great face acting, and it's like a really long pause before Sawyer just goes, right, in a way that feels like so real. And I really enjoyed it. And I also really loved Saeed's kind of pained impatience, where Sawyer continues to like press him on this line of questioning. And he's sort of like, my guy, if all you have for me is questions that I'm not going to be able to answer to, can you leave me the fuck alone, because I'm in a lot of pain here. You know, before Sawyer goes away to leave him in peace with his leg that Jack has refused to help him with, he tells him, I kept your signal fire burning. And I was like, oh my god, these guys love each other. Like,
yes, I was like,
start of a beautiful friendship. They've come so far from one of them torturing the other.
No, I think, like we've talked before, how Sawyer is immediately introduced as this like real bad guy, and he's the villain and everyone hates him. And we've talked about the like softening of his edges. And this is another one of those things of him being like, he's still going to put up this front, but actually he has been doing what, like, in Saeed's absence, has kept up Saeed's mission.
Yeah,
Like,
he's like, I am going to call
there for
you
the group.
racist slurs, but I'm also going to keep your signal fire burning. I contain multitudes.
Yeah. Anything else, or should we go to our final plot thread?
Let's go to Walt and Hurley. It was a really delightful scene. It was like such a beautiful comic relief moment that it was like, for in the midst of all this like horrible shit going on, we could just like lift our spirits for a little moment with the sheer joy and like the beautiful pairing of Hurley and Walt, and the fact that they are kind of meeting each other as equals in this game. I mean, Walt is kicking Hurley's ass, but
I was going to say, I don't think they're equals.
but I just mean that like Hurley isn't talking down to him just because he's a kid.
Oh, yeah.
And they're kind of, they're playing a game that like anyone can play.
Yeah.
And Walt is even like, oh, don't worry, I wasn't very good at this when I started as well. And Hurley's like, I was
3 days ago.
I was in a tournament. I came 17th. They have this fabulous like comedic back and forth. And then at the end, when Hurley's like making his excuses to leave, he says, I've got a meeting. And Walt's like, hey, you owe me $20,000. It was like, this was a scene that like I laughed out loud at, not because necessarily it was like that funny, but just because it felt like such a relief amongst everything else to be able to have something to laugh at.
So during their game, Walt is repeatedly like blowing into the dice and saying what he needs, and he blows on it, and Hurley's like, come on, and then he rolls exactly what he needs.
He just rolls exactly what he needs every time. It's almost like something special about Walt. Is there?
Ooh.
Could there be? Is he magic? So far we have possibly manifested a polar bear and suspiciously good at backgammon, and made it stop raining when Michael said he was going to look for his dog as soon as it stopped raining. Okay, that's three marks on the Is Walt Magic chalkboard.
Great stuff. Is that all of our plot threads?
I think I'm good.
Shall we go to Connor's corner?
If you want aviation or medical information, welcome to Connor's corner.
There is such a thing as a precordial thump, which is when you put your arm on the patient and you thump them. However, in Connor's medical opinion, no one fire him please, there is little evidence to support its use. If you don't have a defibrillator and someone has a heart attack, you could do a precordial thump before you start CPR in case you can like thump the heart back into action. But because we can assume that Charlie was probably asphyxiated and it wasn't a cardiac cause, doing this precordial thump, it would not be particularly helpful.
Thanks, Connor.
Yeah.
For confirming that you can't beat a dead body back to life.
He also got very annoyed during the OR scene because if the patient is bleeding out on the table, she needs to have a transfusion. You can't just defibrillate her and do CPR and hope that it's going to be fine. That's all we have this week from Connor.
Okay, how are we looking for hot ranking?
Hot can be physical, hot can be emotional. Hot is whatever we decide, and everyone's attractive, but who is top of the ranking? Who's the hottest one on this island?
I would like to nominate once again Sawyer, because I thought he was looking good in the scene with Saeed, and also he was being a good boy and keeping the signal fires burning.
That is very good. I think I would go with Boone, because I think Boone has been good, but also, as discussed, there is the mullet situation.
There is the mullet situation.
I also love Locke in this episode. I think it might be time to bring Locke on.
We're going to have him arriving from beneath.
Coming up from the bottom.
As is the way. So that means Sawyer was already on top from last week, so he simply remains on top.
So is Locke going to be right at the bottom of the list?
Yeah, and because no one's like currently demoted, basically.
Yeah, no one needs to be demoted in this episode. Jack's not even on the hot ranking, so we're fine.
Okay, so the hot ranking is as follows: Sawyer, Saeed, Sun. 3 strong candidates there in the top 3. Charlie, Boo, Kate, Claire, Boone, Shannon, Hurley, Michael, Locke.
Great. I'm happy with that.
I'm very happy with that. That's our list. That's our podcast, people.
That is our podcast. Don't forget, you can follow us on socials. We are on Instagram at Dharma Fish Biscuits Pod. We're also on TikTok at Dharma Fish Biscuits. If you have Lost-related questions or comments or feedback, please nice stuff only, you can email us directly at dharmafishbiscuitspod@gmail.com.
Please also leave us a review. We would be so happy if you left us a review. Also, if you're on Spotify, you can write comments like in the episodes. I am continually checking our Spotify comment feed. No one has done it yet. We would love to know that you were listening and hear from you. Also, if you enjoy the show, tell a friend. You have that one friend who watched Lost, who you used to talk about Lost with, or who's keeps saying that they've been meaning to watch Lost. Everyone has one friend, apart from Shannon. And Angel, famously.
Our next episode is going to be out in 2 weeks. We'll be discussing episode 12. It's another punny title that I dislike. It's called Whatever the Case May Be. So until then, I'll see you in another life, Helen.
See you in another life, brother.